Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga dipimpin oleh dekan dan 3 wakil dekan. Dan juga dilengkapi dengan fasilitas terbaik. Memiliki 4 departemen, yaitu Departemen Ilmu Ekonomi yang telah terakreditasi A, baik sarjana, magister, dan doktor, dengan peluang profesi sebagai berikut. Departemen Akuntansi yang telah terakreditasi A, baik sarjana, magister, dan doktor, serta memiliki program profesi dengan peluang profesi sebagai berikut. Departemen Manajemen yang telah terakreditasi A, baik sarjana, magister, dan doktor, dengan peluang profesi sebagai berikut. Departemen Ekonomi Syariah yang telah terakreditasi A, baik sarjana, magister, dan doktor, dengan peluang profesi sebagai berikut. Kami juga memfasilitasi program sarjana internasional, serta program akselerasi bagi mahasiswa yang memiliki potensi dan prestasi. Melalui Fast Track, Combined Degree, Fast Track dan Combined Degree. Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga juga memberikan program kerjasama internasional untuk meningkatkan kapasitas mahasiswa dan tenaga pengajar, meliputi pertukaran mahasiswa, pertukaran tenaga pengajar, nota kesepahaman atau MOU, riset bersama. Gelar ganda, transfer kredit, ajun profesor, dan amerta. Serta puluhan program beasiswa. Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga telah menjalin kemitraan domestik dan mancanegara yang bergerak di berbagai sektor bisnis. Berbagai penghargaan internasional telah berhasil diraih demi terwujudnya visi dan misi. Mari bergabung bersama Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga. Raih mimpimu dan wujudkan masa depan cerah.
This is a beautiful country that's blessed with an abundance of natural resources. From them, we trade. Public welfare should be supported by sound finance. Therefore, banking plays a very significant role in the national financial industry. IDIC strengthens its presence as a trusted institution that promotes and maintains financial system stability. From us, for us. IDIC.
Asian Journal of Accounting Research, as known as AJAR, is a double anonymous peer-reviewed journal on accounting and finance in developing countries. AJAR publishes 4 times a year in collaboration with Airlangga University Indonesia. AJAR provides a forum for international researchers to publish their original articles of high-quality research findings that contribute to academic literature and practice. AJAR welcomes various methodologies in all aspects of accounting and finance in developing countries, with the majority in Asia. The scope of AJAR includes, but it's not limited to, accounting information system, asset pricing, financial audit and accounting, behavioral and financial accounting, corporate governance, digital accounting and finance, financial markets and institution, international accounting and finance, Islamic accounting and finance, management accounting, market microstructure, public sector accounting, taxation. Here are the editorial teams from AJAR. AJAR's editor-in-chief is Dr. Iman Harimawan from Airlangga University Indonesia. As of October 2022, AJAR has 13 associate editors from 11 different countries. AJAR also has 3 international editorial advisory boards, namely Professor Kamran Ahmed from Lathrop University, Australia, Professor Kabir Hassan from the University of New Orleans, United States, and Professor Grantley Taylor from Curtin University, Australia. In addition, as of October 2022, AJAR also has 23 consulting editors from 9 different countries, including the Indonesia, England, Australia, China, United States of America, Macau, Malaysia, Thailand, and Hong Kong. AJAR has been indexed in several reputable indexes, such as Scopus Q2, ABDC, DOAG, ProQuest, and the others. We realized that time in the article review process is very important for authors when selecting a journal for publication. Therefore, we are committed that publication at AJAR have a review process to a decision an average of 32.2 days. We also realize that not all writers get good financial support. For this reason, we are also committed that all articles that have been accepted at AJAR are not subject to publication fees. We are very open to accepting paper submission from researchers around the world related to accounting in the context of developing countries, especially in Asian region. We also understand that one of the researchers' concerns is the updated information from the article. Please contact us via email ajar@ifeb.unair.ac.id. On average, we respond in approximately 3 working days. We're looking forward to your publication with the Asian Journal of Accounting Research. Make your research journey more fascinating with AJAR.
Selamat datang di Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga. Dengan visi menjadi Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis yang mandiri, inovatif, dan berkelas dunia berdasarkan moral dan agama, serta 3 misi pendukung. Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga telah terakreditasi secara nasional dan internasional, tersertifikasi AUN, terakreditasi ABES 21. Untuk menjawab kebutuhan perkembangan ekonomi dan bisnis dunia, serta jumlah mahasiswa yang terus meningkat, kami menghadirkan tenaga pengajar yang kompeten. Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga dipimpin oleh dekan dan 3 wakil dekan. Dan juga dilengkapi dengan fasilitas terbaik. Saat ini Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga memiliki 4 departemen, yaitu Departemen Ilmu Ekonomi yang telah terakreditasi A, baik sarjana, magister, dan doktor, dengan peluang profesi sebagai berikut. Departemen Akuntansi yang telah terakreditasi A baik sarjana, magister, dan doktor, serta memiliki program profesi dengan peluang profesi sebagai berikut. Departemen Manajemen yang telah terakreditasi A baik sarjana, magister, dan doktor, dengan peluang profesi sebagai berikut. Departemen Ekonomi Syariah yang telah terakreditasi A baik sarjana, magister, dan doktor, dengan peluang profesi sebagai berikut. Kami juga memfasilitasi program sarjana internasional, serta program akselerasi bagi mahasiswa yang memiliki potensi dan prestasi. Melalui Fast Track, Combined Degree, Fast Track dan Combined Degree. Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga juga memberikan program kerjasama internasional untuk meningkatkan kapasitas mahasiswa dan tenaga pengajar, meliputi pertukaran mahasiswa, pertukaran tenaga pengajar. nota kesepahaman atau MOU, riset bersama. Gelar ganda, transfer kredit, ajun profesor, dan amerta. Serta puluhan program beasiswa. Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga telah menjalin kemitraan domestik dan mancanegara yang bergerak di berbagai sektor bisnis. Berbagai penghargaan internasional telah berhasil diraih demi terwujudnya visi dan misi. Mari bergabung bersama Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga. Raih mimpimu dan wujudkan masa depan cerah.
This is a beautiful country that's blessed with an abundance of natural resources. From them, we trade. Public welfare should be supported by sound finance. Therefore, banking plays a very significant role in the national financial industry. IDIC strengthens its presence as a trusted institution that promotes and maintains financial system stability. From us, for us. IDIC.
Asian Journal of Accounting Research, as known as AJAR, is a double anonymous peer-reviewed journal on accounting and finance in developing countries. AJAR published in collaboration with Airlangga University Indonesia. AJAR provides a forum for international researchers to publish their original articles of high-quality research findings that contribute to academic literature and practice. AJAR welcomes various methodologies in all aspects of accounting and finance in developing countries, with the majority in Asia. The scope of AJAR includes, but it's not limited to, accounting information system, asset pricing, financial audit and accounting, behavioral and financial accounting, corporate governance, digital accounting and finance, financial markets and institution, international accounting and finance, Islamic accounting and finance, management accounting, market microstructure, public sector accounting, taxation. Here are the editorial teams from AJAR. AJAR's editor-in-chief is Dr. Iman Harimawan from Airlangga University Indonesia. As of October 2022, AJAR has 13 associate editors from 11 different countries. AJAR also has 3 international editorial advisory boards, namely Professor Kamran Ahmed from Lathrop University, Australia, Professor Kabir Hassan from the University of New Orleans, United States, and Professor Grantley Taylor from Curtin University, Australia. In addition, As of October 2022, AJAR also has 23 consulting editors from 9 different countries, including the Indonesia, England, Australia, China, United States of America, Macau, Malaysia, Thailand, and Hong Kong. AJAR has been indexed in several reputable indexes such as Scopus Q2, ABDC, DOAG, ProQuest, and the others. We realized that time in the article review process is very important for authors when selecting a journal for publication. Therefore, we are committed that publication at AJAR have a review process to a decision an average of 32.2 days. We also realize that not all writers get good financial supports. For this reason, we are also committed that all articles that have been accepted at AJAR are not subject to publication fees. We are very open to accepting paper submission from researchers around the world related to accounting in the context of developing countries, especially in Asian region. We also understand that one of the researchers' concerns is the updated information from the article. Please contact us via email ajar@ifeb.unair.ac.id. On average, we respond in approximately 3 working days. We're looking forward to your publication with the Asian Journal of Accounting Research. Make your research journey more fascinating with AJAR.
Selamat datang.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Nadia Tulkabi Amanadiski. You can call me Nadia. I'm from Accounting Batch 2019, and I will be the Master of Ceremony today. A warm welcome to you all to Asian Journal of Accounting Research International Virtual Conference 2022. This conference is expected to encourage innovative ideas and thoughts so that they can contribute more to literature and academics, as we knew that the pandemic is a critical issue because the global economy is affected. The conference is also invites several presenters that will present their articles along with the panel discussion later on. The theme of the conference this year is the impact of COVID-19 on accounting and finance. This conference is organized by Asian Journal of Accounting Research, Faculty Economic and Business, and Accounting Department of Airlangga University, and sponsored by Indonesia Deposit Insurance and Corporation. Now, let us hear welcoming speeches. First, please welcome Associate Professor Dr. Abdul Muttalib Arsartawi, Chairperson of Accounting, Finance, and Banking Department, Business and Finance College of Ahliya University. To Professor Abdul Muttalib Arsartawi, the spotlight is yours.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good morning, everybody from Bahrain. And I would like, first of all, to thank Airlangga University for having this conference and also for the conference which I invited to. And I would like to wish you all the best in this conference. And from Ahliya University, we are happy to be part of this international conference. And also, it's like an invitation for the next year to have, inshallah, the conference even here in Bahrain, or to have it in anywhere in the world. And also, we will be part of it. I will not take too much time from your time. I know you have a heavy schedule. So I'm here just to say welcome to everybody and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Abdul Muttalib Arsartawi, for the opening remarks. Next, please welcome Professor Dr. Dian Agustina as the Dean of School of Economics and Business of Airlangga University to give the opening remarks. to Professor Dian Agustia. The spotlight is yours.
Okay, thank you, Nadia tuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable keynote speaker, Dr. Munir Al-Mubarak, as the Dean of Business and Finance of Ahliya University Bahrain, Dr. Abdul Muttabel Al-Sartawi, hello, and Honorable keynote speaker, Prof. Khaled Hussainey and Dr. Adel M. Sharia, as a Dean of Business and Finance of Ahliya University Bahrain. Representative from Honorable Representative from Indonesia Deposit Insurance Corporation or Lembaga Penjaminan Simpanan Indonesia, and Honorable Head and Secretary, also the head of the undergraduate and postgraduate study program for Accounting Department, the Faculty of Economic and Business, the student and participant, and ladies and gentlemen. Selamat siang, warm greeting from the Faculty of Economic and Business, Universitas Airlangga. First and foremost, let us extend our praise to Allah, God Almighty, for all the countless blessing upon us. It's the honor for me to welcome you all to the grand event, Asian Journal of Accounting Listed International Virtual Conference. AJAR is a double anonymous peer review journal on accounting and finance.
Sebentar. Aku harus ke sini dulu disuruh.
That is published 3 times a year and indexed in Q2 Scopus. AJAR International Virtual Conference 2022 was a collaboration initiative between the Accounting Department of the Faculty of Economic and Business Universitas Airlangga Indonesia and the Business and Finance Faculty from Ahliya University Bahrain, along with the support from the co-host of other key partners, Lembaga Penjaminan Simpanan or Indonesia Deposit Insurance Corporation Indonesia. I am very pleased to see the depth and breadth of perspective reflected in this international conference, capturing the best mind in the field accounting and finance to gather their into high quality paper that expected to become a seminar references by academician, policymaker, and practitioner. This year, theme impact of COVID-19 on accounting and finance is very timely and rising since accounting and finance are essential growth sector. They are ready to be optimally tapped and address various problems that arise. Therefore, I'm proudly saying that the blending between accounting, finance, and impact investing could accelerate the achievement of creating a more prosperous world. On the special occasion, I also would like to express my sincere appreciation to the advisory board, organizing committee, international scientific committee, institution, companies, and volunteer, also the participant from various countries who have directly and indirectly support to success of this conference. And one more important announcement is that all accepted paper will be published in AJAR special issues. Thank you. I hope can create synergies to achieve the goal of this event. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, thank you, Professor Dian Agustia, for your opening remarks. Now, please welcome Mr. Didi Madiono as the member of Board of Commissioner of Indonesia Deposit Insurance Corporation or Lembaga Penjamin Simpanan to give a welcoming speech. To Mr. Didi Madiono, the spotlight is yours.
Okay, thank you. The Honorable Professor Dr. Dian Agustia, Dean of the Faculty of Economics and Business, Erlangga University. Dr. Munir Al-Mubarak, Dean of the College of Business and Finance, Ahliya University. Professor Khaled Hussainey from University of Portsmouth. Our distinguished speakers of today's sharing session. Distinguished conference session speakers, moderators, discussions, and other participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, greeting of virtue. It is my great pleasure and an honor to welcome you all at the Asian Journal of Accounting Research International Virtual Conference 2022, presented by the Erlangga University. For this great conference and for the achievement of the AJAR as of Q2 Scopus Journal and Accounting, I would like to congratulate to the University of Erlangga. I believe this accomplishment will be able to motivate all Erlangga University lecturers and students to produce many more high-quality publications in the future and motivate other universities attending this conference to pursue the accomplishments. Ladies and gentlemen, reliable and in-depth research is the backbone of good public policies made by decision makers around the world. Research and evidence-based policies and the forward-looking approaches for the public policies to address real problems and their root causes that relies on scientific evidence presented by data rather than short-term views or conventional wisdom. Indonesia Deposit Insurance Corporation, IDIC, or Lembaga Penjamin Simpanan, LPS, is a part of the Financial System Stability Committee, KSSK, which has mandates to protect Indonesian depositors by ensuring their deposits, conducting failed bank resolution, and maintaining the financial system stability according to its authority. All commercial banks and rural banks in Indonesia are the member of the IDIC Deposit Insurance Scheme. The Deposit Insurance Scheme ensures all Indonesian banks account up to 2 billion rupiah per depositor per bank, which cover fully 99.93% of 494.4 million deposit account as of September 2022. In order to execute the IDIC mandates effectively, IDIC implements extensive and intensive research activities in formulating, evaluating, and developing its strategic policies. This way of thought carries of research-based policy mindset within the IDIC business processes, from the upstream process of surveillance and bank examination until the downstream process of bank resolution, claim payments, including the preparation of bank restructuring program. To fulfill the research need, IDIC researchers collaborate with the researchers from other members of KSSK, including Bank Indonesia, Central Bank of Indonesia, and the Financial Service Authority or OJK, as well as with researchers from various universities in Indonesia, such as from the Erlangga University. As an example, together with Erlangga University, IDIC has been collaborating for 2 years and conducting surveys on depositor confidence. IDIC also embraced academia through great conferences such as the today's conference, where we can hear valuable inputs and scientific discussions about economy, finance, financial institutions, and financial system stability. Furthermore, IDIC has also conducted a call for research, CFR, competitions, which over the years has received many competing papers from all universities in Indonesia, including from University of Airlangga. We truly hope that the researchers competing in the CFR can continue their effort to push their working papers to become published papers in well-respected international journals such as AJAR. Ladies and gentlemen, COVID-19 has provided us with many lessons learned, of which I believe there are still much to be explored for further research, so that we will have complete understanding to prevent or handle any crisis in the future. Quoting Winston Churchill, the United Kingdom Prime Minister during World War II, "Never let a good crisis go to waste. Don't make a crisis something that just goes away. But we have to look for lessons learned that we can use to pursue a better future." I believe the current edition of AJAR will have a great contribution on the academic literature about the impact of COVID-19 crisis on accounting and finance. Closing this remark, on behalf of IDIC, I would like to wish all of you a great conference and thoughtful discussion. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Didi Madiono, for your opening remarks. And now we invite everyone in this meeting to join the photo session. So please kindly open your camera and give us your best pose. And I'll be waiting for around seconds. Okay, since there are 6 windows, I will start from the first window first. And I will start to count down in 3, 2, 1. Okay, move on to the second window. I'll also start to count down in 3, 2, 1. Next up, the third one. In 3, 2, 1. Move on to the fourth. In 3, 2, 1. Next one is the fifth. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, the last one. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you everyone for joining our photo session. Next, we are continuing our meeting to the next agenda, that is to hear the keynote speech, which will be delivered by Professor Khaled Hussainey from University of Portsmouth, United Kingdom. The keynote speech will be moderated by Professor AJAR from Ahliya University. But before we hear the keynote speech, let me introduce the moderator of the day. Professor AJAR is the winner of Emerald Literary Award in 2014. He possesses over 100 publications indexed, including in Scopus, APDC, and ABS, and he has more than a decade of teaching experience. He has been bestowed with many awards and been summoned as the keynote speakers on several occasions. He served on the editorial team of several international journals published by Elsevier, Emerald, and Taylor and Francis. He is a member of the Accounting and Finance Association of Australia and New Zealand. In 2015, Dr. Sarah has been appointed a recognized PhD supervisor by Brunel University in London. He's also an associate editor in Asian Journal of Accounting Research. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Khaled Hussainey and Professor AJAR. To Professor Adesarya, the spotlight is yours.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Thank you very much. I would like to welcome our keynote speaker, Professor Khaled Hussainey from University of Portsmouth. Professor Khaled Hussainey is the editor-in-chief of Journal of Financial Reporting, senior editor of International Journal of Emerging Market, associate editor of International Journal of Finance and Economics, Journal of Applied Accounting Research, Journal of Accounting, Auditing and Performance Evaluation. Currently, he is the guest editor for 4 special issues. Will be published by Emerald and Elsevier. Professor Khaled Hussainey, he is the winner of Emerald, the Best Paper Awards in 2007. this is by British Accounting Review, and 2010. And 2012, 2000, mashallah, Professor Khaled Hussainey, you have a lot of awards. So I just highlighted and mentioned 3, and mashallah, and the last one published by the Journal of Financial Reporting and Accounting. This is in this award in 2022. Also, Professor Khaled Hussainey, he is the external examiner, external advisor appointment for validation. Number 1 external advisor for validation for Master in Accounting and Finance, University of East London, external advisor for the validation of a Master in Accounting and Business at Brunel University, London. And last, he is a member at British Accounting and Finance Association. I would like to welcome our keynote speaker, Professor Khaled Hussainey. You will have 30 minutes. The floor is yours now. Please, you are welcome.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you, Dr. Adel, for the introduction about me. I highly appreciate it. It is too early today in London. It's 5:20. We're still waiting Fajr time. Fajr time is after 1 hour from now. So it's my first talk before Fajr today, inshallah. So my talk will be about COVID-19 and corporate performance. So I will start telling the story when we start this project after the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, and what motivates us to look at COVID-19 and why we look at COVID-19 disclosure specifically, and how this is linked with performance. What we noted in 2020, since the COVID-19 pandemic, we noted that there is a great interest by professional bodies and also by regulators about how COVID-19 affects accounting industry and how COVID-19 affects the way firms disclose information in their annual reports. So the first report from Financial Reporting Council, is one of the regulatory body in the UK, discuss in details about accounting and narrative reporting issues in light of COVID-19. They try to highlight the fact that firms should be honest, firms should be transparent, firms should provide information about how they impacted by COVID-19 pandemic and to what extent COVID-19 affect their performance. So this report produced by Financial Reporting Council motivate us to look in depth to this topic and motivate us to see the actual practice of firms, how they disclose information about COVID-19 pandemic, why they disclose information, and to what extent the information disclosed in the annual report is linked with the corporate performance. Another report was published by ICAEW, which is the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales. In this report, also, they look in depth to COVID-19 and financial reporting, how firms prepare themselves to discuss risk and uncertainty around the time of COVID-19 pandemic. So these two reports motivate us to look at disclosure about COVID-19 and to link disclosure about COVID-19 with corporate performance. At that time, I can see the first article about COVID-19 disclosure was published in Journal of Risk and Financial Management when the authors tried to find out a measurement for COVID-19 pandemic and to link COVID-19 pandemic with annual report uncertainty. So what they have done, they search for keywords related to COVID-19, and also they create a list of keywords related to uncertainty, and they try to find out whether there is any link between the discussion and the reporting of COVID-19 disclosure with the discussion and reporting of uncertainty which the firm might face. So this motivates us to look at this topic at that time. So what we have done, we start a project to look at the relationship between COVID-19 disclosure and performance. And when we discuss performance here, we have two different measures of performance. We looked at disclosure about performance when the firm used the narrative section of their annual report to discuss the performance, like current performance and future performance. This is what we called performance disclosure. We also looked at the effect of COVID-19 disclosure with financial performance measured by return on asset or return on equity and other measures of disclosure. What we observed when we start the project, we measure the COVID-19 disclosure, and we found that some firms disclose information, others are not. And even with the firm which disclose information, we found variation between firms. So some firms disclose more information, others disclose less information. So we try to understand why firms disclose information while others are not, or why firms disclose high level of information while others are not. So we try to see what factors affecting the firm decision to disclose information, and here we look at corporate governance. So we see that firms with high quality corporate governance disclose more information about COVID-19 disclosure. They are more transparent compared with firms with low quality corporate governance. And this paper is published in International Journal of Accounting and Information System. So this is a brief summary. Let's go in depth to the background. We consider COVID-19 as a systematic risk because COVID-19 pandemic affects all companies and all countries around the world. And because it is risk, we based our story on risk disclosure literature. And based on the risk disclosure literature, we found that firms are motivated to disclose information about risk they face and also about how they manage this type of risk. So disclosure here is a way to convince the stakeholder that the firm is able to manage the risk or to mitigate the risk. So we believe that firms might disclose COVID-19 related disclosure and also disclose performance related disclosure to send signals to shareholders about their ability to handle the current situation, which is pandemic, and also to provide assurance to the stakeholders that this pandemic will not affect their financial performance, or although there is a pandemic, their financial performance still looks fine. So when we talk about disclosure, we are talking about information released by firms to stakeholders. There is a demand on disclosure because there is information asymmetry and conflict of agency cost between insider and outsiders. Insiders managers, outsiders is stakeholders. So in terms of COVID-19 disclosures, managers know more information about stakeholders. Stakeholders demand information about the impact of COVID-19 disclosure on firms. So if we have this kind of information asymmetry between managers and stakeholders, we should have an agency cost, and agency cost will be increasing. So to reduce this agency cost, managers are encouraged to increase the level of disclosure about COVID-19 disclosure and how they have impacted by this pandemic. So increasing the level of disclosure should reduce the information asymmetry between managers and stakeholders. So if we have low level of information asymmetry, we should have desirable economic consequences. And one of these consequences is the performance. So we have in signaling theory, in the literature, we found that when firms disclose more information, they have better performance, or increasing the level of disclosure signal the high performance level of the firm. So in this paper, we try to see if there is any relationship between COVID-19 disclosure and performance. And again, we looked at COVID-19 disclosure in the narrative sections of the annual report. So when we are talking about narrative here, we are talking about the chairman statement, management discussion and analysis, and other narrative section in the annual report. So this is the report produced by Financial Reporting Council, which is one of the independent regulator in the UK. This regulator is responsible for regulating auditors, accountants, and also issues related to corporate governance codes. So during the pandemic in 2020, FRC issued a framework on corporate governance and COVID-19 disclosure. There is a strong belief that narrative reporting in the annual report is providing a great opportunity for firms to communicate the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on their activity and also the proposed action the firm take to manage this kind of risk. So the report highlights the fact that investors and other stakeholders are looking for meaningful information and assurance that organizations are doing all they can. The word meaningful here means that firms should disclose information that add value to the stakeholders in their decision-making process. So we don't need just cheap talk. We don't need narrative which not adding value to stakeholders. So the FRC here highlights the fact that this information should be meaningful information, which means that it should add value to the stakeholders for making a decision. The report also highlights the fact that corporate governance is important, especially under this crisis. They mentioned that firms should also address corporate governance and reporting under the crisis. And the report highlights the fact that firms should provide meaningful rather than generic information. So meaningful means that when we discuss COVID-19 disclosure in the annual report, we need to be sure that the information will help stakeholders in making decisions. And in order to help stakeholders for making decisions, the information should be forward-looking. So it should be information about the future. The information should be company specific. So when we are talking about pandemic, when we are talking about COVID-19, we are talking about risk, we should provide information about what type of risk the firm might face because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And the report highlights that we should avoid generic information. Generic information means too general information about the COVID-19 pandemic, like writing a sentence saying that the pandemic affects all companies around the world. This is generic information. We know that a pandemic affects all firms, but we need to understand how does this pandemic affect the firm specifically. So these are the main points that FRC highlights. We should look at the role of corporate governance. Firms should disclose meaningful information in their annual report narrative. Firms should avoid disclosing generic information in the report. The information in general should be forward-looking, company-specific. This is what we can help investors in making decisions, and this kind of information should help to reduce the information asymmetry between managers and stakeholders. So when we looked at the literature at that time, this research has been done about 2020 or late 2020. When we look at the literature, we found at that time that most of the accounting and finance literature about COVID-19 focused mainly on the perception of COVID-19 across the financial markets. Most of the research was finance-based. At that time, there is little research about COVID-19 from the disclosure perspectives. Some research looked at the stock market reaction to COVID-19 pandemic. Other research focused on environmental and social and governance disclosure, ESG disclosure, and how does this affect financial performance during the crisis. So, to the best of our knowledge, when we start this project, there is no study examine COVID-19 related disclosure and its relation with firm performance. I understand that this conference is about COVID-19 disclosure, so I expect to see some study about this issue, but it is a hot area of research. The number of studies published so far about COVID-19 disclosure or reporting is still very limited. So what we did exactly in this report, we try to achieve 5 main objectives. First of all, we try to measure COVID-19 disclosure in the annual report. So we content analyze the narrative section of the UK annual report to identify COVID-19 disclosure and performance disclosure practice. So here we use content analysis to measure level of disclosure. The second point, we try to understand the statement related to COVID-19 disclosure. So we try to explore whether and when firms provide meaningful information and when firms provide generic information. So we read the statement about COVID-19 disclosure, and based on our reading, we try to find out if the information is meaningful or the information is just generic, and when firms provide generic information and when they provide meaningful information. After that, we try to link the COVID-19 disclosure with performance disclosure to see if there is any link when the firm talk in their annual report about COVID-19 disclosure, to what extent the narrative about COVID-19 is linked with the narrative about performance disclosure. Number 4, we try to find out the moderating role of corporate governance on the relationship between disclosure and performance in the annual report. And finally, we try to link COVID-19 disclosure with future performance. We try to see if the firm discloses information about COVID-19 impact and how they manage this impact, whether this gives signal about future performance or not. So for this study, we have 3 research hypotheses. Each one we believe that there is a positive relationship between the level of COVID-19 disclosure and performance disclosure in the annual report narrative. H2, we believe that corporate governance mechanism moderate the relationship between COVID-19 disclosure and performance disclosure in the annual report narrative. H3, we believe that there is a positive relationship between the level of COVID-19 disclosure and financial performance. H1 and H3 is based on signaling theory, while H2, we build this hypothesis based on agency theory. So how did we study this topic? We looked at all non-financial firms listed on London Stock Exchange. So it was 202 firms. We did this study at 2021. So the most recent annual report available at that time was 2020. So we looked at all annual report published with a financial year end 2020. We collect data from the annual report, from Bloomberg, and also from ICON database. We use the content analysis method to measure disclosure, and then we use regression analysis to test our research hypothesis. So in order to achieve the first objective, which is about producing or introducing a measure of COVID-19 disclosure, what we did? We decided to use a computer-based content analysis. And in order to measure disclosure using a computer software, you have to create some keywords related to the phenomena you are interested in. So we are interested in disclosure about COVID-19, and we try to collect some keywords related to COVID-19 disclosure. So we get these keywords from a framework produced by the UK government, which called COVID-19 Secure Guidelines. In this report, they discuss in details the COVID-19 pandemic. We read this report carefully and we try to find out the keywords related to COVID-19 pandemic. After that, we use a computer software package which called LancsBox software. LancsBox software is a software developed by Lancaster University, and this software helps us to find out the frequency of the annual report or the frequency of words in the annual report. So based on this software, we try to identify the most frequent words related to COVID-19 pandemic in the annual report of our sample. Then we use another software, which is CFIE FRSE software. This software helps us to measure the frequency of each of the keywords we have selected. So our measure of COVID-19 disclosure was the number of COVID-19 related keywords in the annual report narrative. These are the keywords we have used to measure level of disclosure: COVID, virus, corona, pandemic, detention, lockdown, outbreak, and so on. So these are the keywords which were frequently used in the annual report. So we try to find out the number of times this keyword is reported in the annual report narrative. So our measure here, computer-based measure, using the number of words related to COVID-19 pandemic. Also, we try to find out what we called here performance disclosure in the annual report. Again, in Lancaster University, they produce a list of keywords which cover financial performance and non-financial performance. So we use these keywords to measure the financial performance and the non-financial performance related disclosure in the narrative section of the annual report. So now we create a list of COVID-19 disclosure to measure COVID-19 disclosure. And also we use the list produced by Lancaster University to measure financial and non-financial information in the annual report. Then we move to the second objective when we try to understand whether and when firms provide meaningful or generic information. In order to achieve this objective, we have to read the sentence ourselves. So here we use the manual content analysis. The software help us to get the sentence that include information about COVID-19 disclosure. So what we have done, we read a sample of the sentence to understand COVID-19 disclosure practice. Then we linked this sentence with the performance of the firm. So what we found different scenarios. The first scenario, a firm like AstraZeneca, the firm is making profits and their profit increase during the pandemic. So when we read the statements in this firm, we found that the firm is disclosing information. This information is financial, and this information is considered as good news. So AstraZeneca is one of the big firms in the UK. They introduced the vaccine, and you can imagine how they win from this pandemic. So the content analysis here for this firm represent a case of firm which have a profit, which make a profit, and this profit increase during pandemic. What they said, they mentioned, despite the significant impact from the COVID-19 pandemic, we deliver double digital revenue growth in 2020 to leverage improved profitability and cash generation. So firms which have a large increase in financial performance disclose meaningful information, and they provide good news. They provide information about financial performance. As you can see, they talk about their revenue growth, they talk about their profitability, they talk about cash generation. So the note written in the note here is AstraZeneca provide meaningful information about their financial performance during pandemic because this firm has a high level of performance during pandemic because of, I think, the vaccine they introduce. So this one case, what happened if the profit increase during the pandemic? And this one case. The second case we have here, when there is increase in profit, but this increase is not high. So the second case, we found that firms with very slight increase in performance, what they do. When we read this sentence, let's look at the second sentence, for example. Despite the impacts of COVID-19, the planned work for 2020 were delivered safely and on challenge. If you read the three sentences, what you can observe that firms with a slight increase in performance disclose also meaningful information. However, they focus on non-financial information. So they use here information about non-financial performance during the pandemic. If we compare this case with the previous one, when they have increased level of financial performance, they disclose more information about their financial performance. When the performance increased, slight increase, very little increase, they start talking about non-financial information. But what happens if they make loss? This is the third case when firms is still making profit, but the profit is declining. We also observe that when the profit is declining, the firm start providing bad news information about their financial performance. So if you look at the first sentence, the full year decline in group revenue was mainly seen in the third quarter, driven by the total loss of sales for the period in which Primark stores were closed. The decline in the full year adjusted operating performance for the group was a consequence of this. We estimate that Primark lost 2 billion of sales and some of 650 million of profit as a result of COVID. Here, the firm is still making profit, but the profit is declining. So the profit is reduced. So when the profit is reduced, the firm starts providing again meaningful information in their narrative. The meaning information here for the profit declining was about financial performance. It contains bad news information because it mentions that there is something bad in terms of the financial performance, like second sentence. Second sentence started by revenues have reduced due to COVID-19 pandemic. So this is the third case when profit is declining. A firm try to provide again meaningful information, but they disclose more bad news information, and they mention that this bad news information because of pandemic. It was very interesting to us to see how firms disclose information in their annual report when the firm is making loss. What do we see? We saw that when firms make loss, they just provide generic information. Too general information about COVID-19 pandemic. If you look at the last sentence of the paragraph mentioned in red, we have considered the potential impact of COVID-19 in our scenario analysis, but no more information about this. So what we observed here, when the firm is making losses, they provide too general information, more generic information, and they don't explicitly explain how disclosure how COVID-19 affect disclosure. So to summarize, these are the 4 cases we found when the firm is making profit, and firms with significant increase in profit during the pandemic, they provide meaningful information. They disclose more good news information about their financial performance. And also we observed that they attributed this good performance to the strong management skills. So they are using impression management techniques. The second case, firms with a slight increase in performance during pandemic also provide meaningful information. They disclose more good news, but here they provide information about their non-financial performance. And again, they attribute this performance to management skills. Again, they use impression management. The third case, when the firm has a decline in performance during pandemic, they start giving more bad news information, and also they attribute this information to the COVID-19 pandemic. So they provide more bad news information about their financial performance and use attribution theory to attribute the bad news to COVID-19 pandemic. The fourth case, which was very interesting, when firms making loss, what they have done, they just provide generic information, general information about COVID-19, and they don't link this information at all with financial or non-financial performance indicators. Then we move to the third objective to examine if COVID-19 disclosure is linked with performance-related disclosure. When the firm discloses information about COVID-19, are they link this information with financial or non-financial information? So here our dependent variable is performance narrative disclosure in the annual report. Our independent variable is COVID-19 narrative disclosure. We have different control variable like board size, board independence, gender diversity. We have some firm specific characteristics like total asset, return on asset, and a measure for liquidity, which is current ratio. Of course, we control for industry fixed effect. So when we regress COVID-19 disclosure on performance disclosure, what do we found? we found a positive relationship between the two variables. We also try to see if the corporate governance moderate the relationship between disclosure and the performance. So we interact the COVID-19 disclosure measure with our governance measure. So COVID-19 is interacted with board size, interacted with board independence, and interacted with gender diversity. So what did we found? First of all, when we use the correlation analysis, we found a correlation between COVID-19 disclosure and performance disclosure in the narrative section of the annual report. For our regression result, what did we found? We found a positive relationship between COVID-19 disclosure and performance disclosure, which means that when firms disclose information about COVID-19 in their annual report narrative, they link this narrative discussion with performance. And again, when we talk about performance, we are talking about performance disclosure, whether it is financial or non-financial. If you look at the third or fourth column, when we talk about the interaction model, you can see that we found also corporate governance moderate the relationship between performance and COVID-19 disclosure. We found board independence has a positive moderating effect on the relationship between COVID-19 disclosure and performance disclosure. Also, we found gender diversity has a moderating effect for the relationship between COVID-19 disclosure and performance disclosure. Our last objective was about what happened if the firm disclosed COVID-19 disclosure this year. Does this reflected on the future financial performance? Is there any impact on the COVID-19 on the future performance? Does COVID-19 disclosure signal the future performance of the firm or not? So we use this model. Here we are talking about future financial performance. We use financial performance indicators, not disclosure. And our independent variable is COVID-19 disclosure. We also consider some corporate governance disclosure and firm-specific characteristics. So what did we find? We find that, yes, there is a relationship between the level of COVID-19 disclosure and future performance. So we use two different types of performance measure. We use return on asset, return on equity, and we always find that there is a positive relationship between COVID-19 disclosure and future performance. So let's summarize the key findings we have. First of all, we observed that UK firms report meaningful information when they make profit. When they make profit, they always link this profit with either financial performance or non-financial performance. When the profit is increasing, they provide information about financial performance. When the profit is decreasing, they provide information about non-financial performance. But when the firm is making loss, while they provide generic information about the COVID-19, and in many cases, we found that when the firm is making loss, they keep silent. We find the level of disclosure for loss-making firms is zero, nothing at all. So this, let's say, came with the conclusion that UK companies report meaningful information when they make profit, while they use generic information or they keep silent when they make losses. The second observation, we found a positive relationship between COVID-19 disclosure and firm performance disclosure in the annual report. The third observation, we found that board independence and gender diversity moderate the relationship between COVID-19 disclosure and the level of performance disclosure in the annual report. Finally, we found that firms with more governance power lead to more disclosure related to both COVID-19 disclosure and performance. And the association between COVID-19 disclosure and the performance is higher when firms have large board size, and also when firms have high percentage of board independence and high number of women on board. So to conclude, I think based on our analysis, the more companies follows the FRC 2020 guidance for achieving best practice, which related to COVID-19 disclosure, the more benefits the firm will have. If the firm follow the guidance by Financial Reporting Council, this will help to reduce the information asymmetry and improve performance as well as performance-related disclosure. The second lesson we learned from this study is that better corporate governance or high-quality corporate governance enhance disclosure practice during the crisis. So what does this result mean? It means that regulators should be aware about the characteristics of the board of directors which affect COVID-19 and performance disclosure. They also should provide detailed guideline for COVID-19 disclosure, and also they need to provide some example of best practice in terms of disclosure. They need to give guidance and the best practice for firms to encourage them to apply these examples of best practice to disclose more information. Also, the study implies that corporate managers need to strengthen their corporate governance mechanism because there is evidence that better governance is linked with low information asymmetry and increasing transparency. By this study, I think shareholders will be aware about how firms communicate information about COVID-19 and how can they link the information disclosed in the annual report with the performance, if the performance is increasing or decreasing, if the firm making profit or loss. Also, there is lesson learned here about the impression management when firms try to attribute all good performance to themselves and attribute any bad performance to the crisis. So the UK regulators also may take some comfort from the evidence of COVID-19 disclosure method, but they also need to explore more why some firms are not disclosing information. This one of the observation, we found that loss-making firms try to hide the information about COVID-19 pandemic. And if they disclose any information about COVID-19 pandemic, they always provide generic information. So this will be a very interesting area of research. The regulators need to highlight, and also researchers need to look at to see why these firms hide information about the impact of COVID, or why these firms provide generic information about COVID. So what next? How can we extend this project? First of all, when we measure disclosure or COVID-19 disclosure, we use a software which helps us to count the number of words. Counting the number of words in the annual report is used in recent literature, and it is acceptable approach for measuring disclosure, but it is not the best one. You can look at different measure for disclosure. For example, you can measure the number of sentences or number of paragraphs. Might be much better than using the number of words as a proxy for disclosure. Second point, when you measure number of words or number of sentences or number of paragraphs, you are measuring the quantity of the information. And I think stakeholders are not interested in the quantity. The quantity of the information is very noisy measure. What stakeholders are interested in, they are more interested in the quality of the information. So we suggest that researchers can look at the readability of COVID-19 disclosure. To what extent information about COVID-19 is easy to read and to understand by the stakeholders. So looking at the readability as a measure for the quality of COVID-19 disclosure might add value to the research, and also it might imply some interesting stories for the regulators and professional bodies. Another way or another point for measuring the quality of COVID-19 disclosure is to look at the tone of the information. The tone here means that whether the information cover good news or bad news. So when we look in depth to the statement, when we see the readability of the statement or the tone of the information, I think we measure the quality, and this much better measure for disclosure compared with just counting the number of words or number of sentences. The third comment here, we need to highlight that this research is based on the UK, and I'm sure that in this conference we should see different research using COVID-19 disclosure in different contexts, but the research itself open with research question about COVID-19 disclosure and what is the practice of COVID-19 within the small firms or less liquid firms in the UK and other countries. So we're still looking at here listed firms, but you might find a very interesting story if you look at small and medium enterprises to see whether these small firms provide information about disclosure or not. If yes, what are the motivations for these firms to discuss COVID-19 related disclosure? If not, we need also to see why they are not discussing this information. Of course, it will also be very interesting to do a qualitative study to ask managers what are the real motivation for disclosing this important information in the annual report. It will be also very interesting to see if the information is hidden or if the information is withheld in the following year. So if we have 2 years, for example, just I focus here in this study in 2020, if I have 2 years, I can see what happened to the COVID-19 disclosure over years, whether the firm hide some information in the following year, or if the firm still keeping the level of transparency in terms of COVID-19 disclosure over the 2 years. The last point I need to mention here is that when we talk about COVID-19 disclosure in our study, we focus on the supply side of financial information. Supply side means that the firm which supplies the information in their annual report. So looking at the supply side is very important, but again, we should, as a researcher, to look at the demand side. We need to understand what the stakeholders need from the firm in terms of COVID-19 disclosure. So it will be very interesting to do like a qualitative study to ask different stakeholders what kind of information you need related to COVID-19 disclosure. If you need to make a quantitative study, it will be very interesting to examine the stock market reaction to COVID-19 disclosure. So if the firm disclose information about COVID-19 disclosure, whether the stock return going up or down, whether the share price going up or down. Of course, the share price and stock return will move up or down based on the type and the tone of the information disclosed in the annual report, and also based on the readability of this information in the annual report. So here we need to look at the quality of the information and how the stock market react to the quality of the information. The last point also, we can measure the consequences of this type of information. So in my research, I looked at COVID-19 disclosure and its impact on financial performance. But for the financial performance, I use accounting-based measure for financial performance. So I'm still looking at supply side. If you need to look at the demand side of the information, you need to link the COVID-19 disclosure with cost of capital, analyst forecast accuracy, analyst coverage, and other measure which represent the demand side of the information. So it is still very interesting area of research, very hot research area, and we encourage researchers to investigate more time, especially now we have 2020, 2021, and after a couple of months we'll have 2022. So we'll have 3 years of data. We can look at disclosure behavior for firms over the 3 years. Before pandemic, we can try to see what kind of risk the firm disclosed. During the COVID-19, what kind of risk the firm face. We can make a comparison between risk level before and during COVID-19 pandemic. It is very hot area, and we can invest more time to investigate. So that's all. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I hope that you find this presentation interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Khaled Al-Hussainey from University of Portsmouth. Now we'll open the floor, if you allow me, for 2 or 3 questions. Please, if you have any questions, the audience, we may allow for 2 or 3. You can write here, the chatting room, or you can ask your question direct. Yes, please, presenter. Yes, the floor. Yeah, please. You can presenter Hussainey Baharia. Yeah, please. If I pronounce your name correctly, please. Yeah, the floor is yours.
All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Asniati Bahari from Universitas Andalas, West Sumatra. It's so interesting to hear the research result conducted by Prof. Khaled. And I just want to ask about case 4, Prof. You mentioned that it is only generic information provided by the company in case 4, since they said the COVID-19 create loss for the company. As an accountant, maybe we know that if it is a loss, means the performance of the company is not good, right? So why you say so? Second one is, we don't have the software, CFIE, FRSE software here. Do you think the university can share with us with that software so we can do also similar study in here in Indonesia? Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much. First of all, the software is available free for download. So if you go to Lancaster University, you will find the software. You can download it in your computer and you can use it with your firms. If your firm have an annual report in English, so you need English annual reports. So the software is free, and if you can't access, just email me and I can send you a copy. So it's available. For the first question about generic information, we looked at the income statement to see if the firm is making profit or loss. So we observed that this firm is making loss. So we study all firms which are making loss. We looked at their narrative. What we found that firms which are making loss are keeping silent in most cases, no mention at all to COVID-19 disclosure. And when some of these loss-making firms disclose information about COVID-19, the information is very generic, just mentioning to the word of COVID-19. Some cases we found, for example, say that COVID-19 affect all countries around the world. But what we are interested to see, whether the COVID-19 affects the firm itself or not, and how the firm managed this crisis. Nothing at all. So just to provide generic information. So we understand they make loss from the income statement. So we classify this firm as loss-making firms, but what try to see what kind of information about COVID-19 they disclose. We see either no disclosure or too generic information about the COVID pandemic itself.
Yes, sorry, Prof. It means that there is no more explanation about the loss. Is that right?
Yes, there is no explanation about loss, or there might be some explanation about loss, but not linked with COVID-19.
I see. All right. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.
Thank you. We may allow for only one question because we are running out of time. Only one question, if there is anyone will ask. Just one question, please. Raise your hand, or you can write. I will read your question. Okay. Is there any question? Okay. Oh, okay, it seems fine. To conclude, yeah, there is one question from. Okay, yeah, please, the floor is yours. Yeah. The organizer can unmute, please. Help the presenter to. I would like to ask the organizer to help the presenter to. Okay, yeah, the floor is yours now, please.
My name is Miss Wati. My name is Miss Wati.
You're welcome, Miss Wati.
I'm from Balikpapan University. Okay. I read your paper. I shared from Emara. Then in your paper, there is two hypotheses, but when your presentation, I see that three hypotheses. And then in the model, there is a moderating variable about corporate governance. Can you explain why corporate governance can moderating effect associated about COVID-19 to performance? Thank you, Khaled, Hussainey.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, the presentation is different from the paper because the presentation is our project. When we submit our paper for publication, it was like lengthy paper, have too many pages, and Emerald limit us with 8,000 words only. So the reviewer asked us to delete one of the research hypotheses. So, or using this the third one, or the third hypothesis will be used for another paper. So just we focus on H1 and H2 in the published paper. Secondly, based on the literature, we found that a firm with high quality corporate governance disclose more information. So we always found that governance affect disclosure. And also the finance literature provide evidence that corporate governance affect performance. So if governance affect disclosure and affect performance, we believe that corporate governance could strengthen the relationship between disclosure and performance. So in our model, we try to find out if disclosure is linked with performance, and we found a relationship. And given the fact that corporate governance affect disclosure and also affect performance, we believe that if we interact corporate governance variables with disclosure, this will have a moderating effect on the performance. So both governance and disclosure will increase the level of performance disclosure, or in H3 will help us to predict the future performance.
Okay, thank you, Professor Khaled. To conclude, when we talk about the COVID-19, we talk about three crises, if you allow me: the health crisis, ethical crisis, as well as the economics and financial crisis. Today, Professor Khaled, thank you for your presentation. Very useful. We benefited a lot from your presentation. And now I will move to the opening the conference session. And the organizer, please, the floor is yours. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, thank you, Professor Khaled Hussainey and Professor Adil Saria for the insightful sharing session. What an excellent presentation from our keynote speakers and moderators. And without further ado, Asian Journal of Accounting Research International Virtual Conference 2022 is officially open. Now we invite you to join the conference session, with the breakout rooms are being presented on the screen later by the committee. If you have any difficulties, please ask our committee for assistance. Thank you.
4 times a year in collaboration with Airlangga University Indonesia. AJAR provides a forum for international researchers to publish their original articles of high-quality research findings that contribute to academic literature and practice. AJAR welcomes various methodologies in all aspects of accounting and finance in developing countries, with the majority in Asia. The scope of AJAR includes, but it's not limited to, accounting information system, asset pricing, financial audit and accounting, behavioral and financial accounting, corporate governance, digital accounting and finance, financial markets and institution, international accounting and finance, Islamic accounting and finance, management accounting, market microstructure, public sector accounting, taxation. Here are the editorial teams from AJAR. AJAR's editor-in-chief is Dr. Iman Harimawan from Airlangga University Indonesia. As of October 2022, AJAR has 13 associate editors from 11 different countries. AJAR also has 3 international editorial advisory boards, namely Professor Kamran Ahmed from Lathrop University, Australia, Professor Kabir Hassan from the University of New Orleans, United States, and Professor Grantley Taylor from Curtin University, Australia. In addition, as of October 2022, AJAR also has 23 consulting editors from 9 different countries, including the Indonesia, England, Australia, China, United States of America, Macau, Malaysia, Thailand, and Hong Kong. AJAR has been indexed in several reputable indexes such as Scopus Q2, ABDC, DOAG, ProQuest, and the others. We realize that time in the article review process is very important for authors when selecting a journal for publication. Therefore, we are committed that publication at AJAR have a review process to a decision an average of 32.2 days. We also realize that not all writers get good financial support. For this reason, we are also committed that all articles that have been accepted at AJAR are not subject to publication fees. We are very open to accepting paper submission from researchers around the world related to accounting in the context of developing countries, especially in Asian region. We also understand that one of the researchers' concerns is the updated information from the article. Please contact us via email ajar@ifeb.uneu.ac.id. On average, we respond in approximately 3 working days. We're looking forward to your publication with the Asian Journal of Accounting Research. Make your research journey more fascinating with AJAR.
Selamat datang di Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga. Dengan visi menjadi Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis yang mandiri, inovatif, dan berkelas dunia berdasarkan moral dan agama, serta 3 misi pendukung. Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga telah terakreditasi secara nasional dan internasional, tersertifikasi AUN, terakreditasi ABES 21. Untuk menjawab kebutuhan perkembangan ekonomi dan bisnis dunia, serta jumlah mahasiswa yang terus meningkat, kami menghadirkan tenaga pengajar yang kompeten. Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga dipimpin oleh dekan dan 3 wakil dekan. Dan juga dilengkapi dengan fasilitas terbaik. Saat ini Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga memiliki 4 departemen, yaitu Departemen Ilmu Ekonomi yang telah terakreditasi A, baik sarjana, magister, dan doktor. Dengan peluang profesi sebagai berikut. Departemen Akuntansi yang telah terakreditasi A baik sarjana, magister, dan doktor, serta memiliki program profesi. Dengan peluang profesi sebagai berikut. Departemen Manajemen yang telah terakreditasi A baik sarjana, magister, dan doktor. Dengan peluang profesi sebagai berikut. Departemen Ekonomi Syariah yang telah terakreditasi A baik sarjana, magister, dan doktor. Dengan peluang profesi sebagai berikut. Kami juga memfasilitasi program sarjana internasional, serta program akselerasi bagi mahasiswa yang memiliki potensi dan prestasi. Melalui Fast Track, Combined Degree, Fast Track dan Combined Degree. Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga juga memberikan program kerjasama internasional untuk meningkatkan kapasitas mahasiswa dan tenaga pengajar meliputi pertukaran mahasiswa, pertukaran tenaga pengajar, nota kesepahaman atau MOU, riset bersama. Gelar ganda, transfer kredit, ajun profesor, dan amerta. Serta puluhan program beasiswa. Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga telah menjalin kemitraan domestik dan mancanegara yang bergerak di berbagai sektor bisnis. Berbagai penghargaan internasional telah berhasil diraih demi terwujudnya visi dan misi. Mari bergabung bersama Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga. Raih mimpimu dan wujudkan masa depan cerah.
This is a beautiful country that's blessed with an abundance of natural resources. From them, we trade. Public welfare should be supported by sound finance. Therefore, banking plays a very significant role in the national financial industry. IDIC strengthens its presence as a trusted institution that promotes and maintains financial system stability. From us, for us. IDIC.
Asian Journal of Accounting Research, as known as AJAR, is a double anonymous peer-reviewed journal on accounting and finance in developing countries. AJAR publishes 4 times a year in collaboration with Airlangga University Indonesia. AJAR provides a forum for international researchers to publish their original articles of high-quality research findings that contribute to academic literature and practice. AJAR welcomes various methodologies in all aspects of accounting and finance in developing countries, with the majority in Asia. The scope of AJAR includes, but it's not limited to, accounting information system, asset pricing, financial audit and accounting, behavioral and financial accounting, corporate governance, digital accounting and finance, financial markets and institution, international accounting and finance, Islamic accounting and finance, management accounting, market microstructure, public sector accounting, tax section. Here are the editorial teams from AJAR. AJAR's editor-in-chief is Dr. Iman Harimawan from Airlangga University Indonesia. As of October 2022, AJAR has 13 associate editors from 11 different countries. AJAR also has 3 international editorial advisory boards, namely Professor Kamran Ahmed from Lathrop University, Australia, Professor Kabir Hassan from the University of New Orleans, United States, and Professor Grantley Taylor from Curtin University, Australia. In addition, as of October 2022, AJAR also has 23 consulting editors from 9 different countries, including the Indonesia, England, Australia, China, United States of America, Macau, Malaysia, Thailand, and Hong Kong. AJAR has been indexed in several reputable indexes, such as Scopus Q2, ABDC, DOAG, ProQuest, and the others. We realized that time in the article review process is very important for authors when selecting a journal for publication. Therefore, we are committed that publication at AJAR have a review process to a decision an average of 32.2 days. We also realize that not all writers get good financial support. For this reason, we are also committed that all articles that have been accepted at AJAR are not subject to publication fees. We are very open to accepting paper submission from researchers around the world related to accounting in the context of developing countries, especially in Asian region. We also understand that one of the researchers' concerns is the updated information from the article. Please contact us via email ajar@ifeb.uneu.ac.id. On average, we respond in approximately 3 working days. We're looking forward to your publication with the Asian Journal of Accounting Research. Make your research journey more fascinating with AJAR.
Selamat datang di Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga. Dengan visi menjadi Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis yang mandiri, inovatif, dan berkelas dunia berdasarkan moral dan agama, serta 3 misi pendukung. Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga telah terakreditasi secara nasional dan internasional, tersertifikasi AUN, terakreditasi ABES 21. Untuk menjawab kebutuhan perkembangan ekonomi dan bisnis dunia, serta jumlah mahasiswa yang terus meningkat, kami menghadirkan tenaga pengajar yang kompeten. Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga dipimpin oleh dekan dan 3 wakil dekan. Dan juga dilengkapi dengan fasilitas terbaik. Saat ini Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga memiliki 4 departemen, yaitu Departemen Ilmu Ekonomi yang telah terakreditasi A, baik sarjana, magister, dan doktor, dengan peluang profesi sebagai berikut. Departemen Akuntansi yang telah terakreditasi A baik sarjana, magister, dan doktor, serta memiliki program profesi dengan peluang profesi sebagai berikut. Departemen Manajemen yang telah terakreditasi A baik sarjana, magister, dan doktor, dengan peluang profesi sebagai berikut. Departemen Ekonomi Syariah yang telah terakreditasi A baik sarjana, magister, dan doktor, dengan peluang profesi sebagai berikut. Kami juga memfasilitasi program sarjana internasional, serta program akselerasi bagi mahasiswa yang memiliki potensi dan prestasi. Melalui Fast Track, Combined Degree, Fast Track dan Combined Degree. Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Airlangga juga memberikan program kerjasama internasional untuk meningkatkan kapasitas mahasiswa dan tenaga pengajar, meliputi pertukaran mahasiswa,
Ladies and gentlemen, we had a productive and inspiring time together, and this event about to come to the very end. I hope you found the presentation on this conference are informative and helpful. Now, I would leave you with a quote by Stewart Brand, an author and innovative thinker, who once said that we can see the past but not influence it. We can influence the future but not seeing it. Let us all be guided by all the things we have learned and heard throughout the conference and be able to see and influence our future. Till we meet again, perhaps in the next conference, may all of you have a safe journey home. And thank you for joining Asian Journal of Accounting Research International Virtual Conferences 2022. And that's all from us. Thank you and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Asian Journal of Accounting Research, as known as AJAR, is a double anonymous peer-reviewed journal on accounting and finance in developing countries. AJAR publishes 4 times a year in collaboration with Airlangga University Indonesia. AJAR provides a forum for international researchers to their original articles of high-quality research findings that contribute to academic literature and practice. AJAR welcomes various methodologies in all aspects of accounting and finance in developing countries, with the majority in Asia. The scope of AJAR includes, but it's not limited to, accounting information system, asset pricing, financial audit and accounting, behavioral and financial accounting, corporate governance, digital accounting and finance, financial markets and institution, international accounting and finance, Islamic accounting and finance, management accounting, market microstructure, public sector accounting, taxation. Here are the editorial teams from AJAR. AJAR's editor-in-chief is Dr. Iman Harimawan from Airlangga University Indonesia. As of October 2022, AJAR has 13 associate editors from 11 different countries. AJAR also has 3 international editorial advisory boards, namely Professor Kamran Ahmed from Lathrop University, Australia, Professor Kabir Hassan from the University of New Orleans, United States, and Professor Grantley Taylor from Curtin University, Australia. In